Hello, and welcome to the Astrology Show podcast with astrologer Shelley Overton.
Hi, friends, and welcome back to the September 30th, 2022 edition of the Astrology podcast. My name is Shelley Overton. I'm an astrologer in Orlando, Florida, and I want to welcome you here. We're going to talk astrology today, so I hope you're prepared. And I don't know what your level is, and so I can be rather fast, and I can also be repetitive if you come back and you know astrology. So I cover a gamut. I'm sorry, I am not the one person fits all, but maybe I am. I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, we're going to talk about what's going on in the sky and maybe some concepts and what you can do about handling things. And last week we talked patience. This week, maybe a little bit more about fate, which is kind of fun and interesting. Okay, so let's just look here at what's going on in the chart. We have a moon at today, 6 degrees of Sagittarius, a very fun sign, I might add. Sagittarius moon is very adventurous. They like to get out and about. They do not like to stay put. They are, like I said, adventurous and like to travel. They are spiritually seeking. They like to learn languages and engage with people of other cultures. So when you have a moon in Sagittarius, probably going to be planning a trip, quite honestly. That's kind of on the agenda. The moon in transit this week goes from Sagittarius through Pisces. So generally a transpersonal as opposed to interpersonal area of the sky. Sagittarius gets us out and about. Capricorn brings in the energy of career. Aquarius gets us connected to people from our career, people who might help us with the career. And then Pisces gets us deep into our emotional life and really brings us closer to spirit, actually. So Sagittarius is a spiritual seeker. Moon in Pisces is the spiritual knower. We have Pluto at 26 degrees of Capricorn. And as you can see by this chart, I mean, now's as good a time as any to talk about it. This is a kite formation, and you can tell because it forms a kite. It's an upside down kite in this chart, but a kite shape nonetheless. And so what this is a grand trine, which these planets, Mercury, Pluto, and Uranus, are all 120 degrees apart from each other, creating a grand trine, and they are within an 8-degree orb on either side, so 16-degree range, basically. So you see Uranus is at 18 and Pluto's at 26, so they are just at 8-degree separation of orb, and then Mercury is at 24. So they create this grand trine, 120, 120, 120, and then down below, we have two sextiles where Neptune is exactly opposite of Mercury and then creates a sextile between Neptune and Pluto, 23 to 26 degrees and 23 to 18. So they're in a 5-degree orb of separation for sextile, which is a 60-degree aspect in the sky. So you combine these two and we create the kite. And a kite is an interesting amalgam of many different entities here. Obviously, we have four Mercury, Pluto, Neptune, Uranus. And then you can add in the North Node, which adds an added element of fate and destiny. So a kite formation in and of itself has kind of a mystical influence of fate associated with it. It is a significant formation in the sky for world events and significant world events. And then you have the added inclusion of the North Node. So, of course, North Node is also fate. And so we have this really strong energy associated with this formation. And we pick it apart by looking at which planet's on the long peak, which is Mercury. This is just done for noon on the 30th. So it isn't any specific point of time associated with the planets and where they are at. But Mercury at noon is up in the midheaven. And so it's going to infuse this kite with an influence of media, technology, phones. So this is like releasing new phones, updating computers. We're getting over literally within 3 days of this on the 2nd, which is Sunday, the 2nd of October. Mercury goes direct. So not even 3, it's 2 days. So this is the 30th, then the 1st, then the 2nd, Mercury goes direct. And so still Mercury will be in this aspect over the course of that time, because Pluto and Neptune and Uranus are not going to go very far in 2 days. So we see probably closer to October 2nd, this being a super significant energy for technology, especially with the trine between Mercury and Uranus. And then we have the opposition of Mercury to Neptune. So what Neptune does is, especially in he's retrograde, he kind of brings awareness of information to the collective. And it's a much broader scope because Neptune takes so long to go through a sign. It generally has more significant time to affect a larger quantity of people. And Mercury, being a very fast moving planet, tends to be a hit and run kind of planet. But opposite Neptune, there is going to be a much stronger influence of Mercury. And like I said, it's n degrees of the retrograde, and then it goes into direct motion. And so Mercury at N Virgo is really wrapping up the story, like we said last podcast: education, transportation, learning, growth, teachers, service, hospitality, medicine, medical fields, medical agenda. I find it really interesting. I'm actually recording this podcast early. It's only the 15th, but I am out of town until the 30th. So this goes up the day I return. We're looking at a nursing strike coming in, and I want to say, I think it's in Minnesota. And then there's also another strike that is happening, I believe, either trucking or trains or something like that, which is transportation. Mercury rules transportation. Mercury in Virgo is the ruler of nurses. And then we have that trine to Uranus, which rules strikes, unions, collective bargaining, the collective. And so it's interesting that as we go into this, the teachers, there's a nurse strike, and I want to say also maybe a teacher strike. I'm not sure, but I just remember there are a lot of bubbling up strikes. Let me look it up real quick. Okay, so the nurses strike was in Minnesota, and I'm reading the most current news. The strike, they're hoping to end it as of 7 hours ago, and it says with the strike over. So they just ended that strike. Then there was a teachers strike in Seattle. That one also got suspended, so they're not doing that. And then there was a tentative agreement on a railroad strike, which was averted with a tentative deal an hour ago from when I'm recording this. The Mercury retrograde. So what that tells me is Mercury retrograde is having all these entities come together and have some discourse. When Mercury does go direct, the proof will be in the pudding. Will it be a good deal? Will they go back and threaten to strike again? Generally, in a Mercury retrograde cycle, you have the degrees that Mercury will be retrograde, and that's the shadow period as it goes direct through those. And this is backwards, so I'll go here. Goes direct through those degrees, then it goes back through the degrees that it will ultimately go through, and then it goes forward again in a final transit. So you have direct, retrograde, direct in the same group of degrees. The first one is the shadow period, the retrograde period, shadow period, and then it moves on. So having this Mercury where it is in Virgo is going to be people who are helpers, people in the train industry, service, transportation, nurses, medical, and teachers. Virgo rules that. So we have all these coming together. And then, of course, Uranus is strike. So that kind of drove home that point. The opposition to Neptune means that there is a deeper emotional connection to the collective. And that means that even though Mercury up in Virgo is in an energy of individuality and kind of privacy, it's a really strong, both Scorpio and Virgo are strong privacy seekers. Virgo, it is a hermit, so it pulls back energy, wants to be alone. It is the loner. Neptune and Pisces energy will break things down through the use of emotion, through the use of spiritual connection and connectivity, so psychic awareness, daydreaming, dreaming, prophetic information comes through in our dreams, in our daydreams, and just dropping into our brain when we set aside the intellect, which Mercury brings in. Mercury keeps our mind going really rapid. Neptune kind of zones us out. And it's funny, my daughter, Pisces Mercury, can just kind of float off. I ask her fairly frequently, where are you at? Where'd you go to? So Neptune is affecting us as a collective. And with elderly parents, they're always forgetting stuff. Oh, I'm just getting old. And then I have an aunt who's only in her mid 60s. She says the same thing. And it's like, no, Neptune is influencing you. My aunt is a Pisces. It really brings in this kind of dreamy, relaxed state of mind. And so with the opposition to Mercury, Mercury is kind of getting watered down by that Neptune energy, and it kind of drifts off at times. So even though Mercury is very clear and clear-minded, it can be susceptible to the opposition to Neptune and then just zone out. With Venus fairly close to Mercury as well, just into Libra, it's a time to really take care of material things. And because it's so close to the Virgo energy, whatever was happening with a Venus in Virgo is now going to culminate and really release some of the energy that was about Venus in Virgo. So looking at self-care, goddess energy, for those of you who follow that kind of esoteric discourse. So the energy of Mercury, Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune combines, and that brings in major shift with Pluto, especially in degrees. Like I said, Pluto retrograde, altering, adjusting the collective mindset around systems, around authority figures, around government, going over to Uranus, which is breaking down some of those systems, wanting to really shine a light on injustice, wanting to shine a light on environmentalism and helping people of other situations, not necessarily the well-off, but definitely alternative lifestyles and people of alternative choices. And then Neptune, opposite Mercury, like I just said, is bringing in this breaking down, this emotionalism, this watery and potentially flooding energy, but it is clear-minded because Neptune retrograde speaks to less watery energy and more clear-minded energy. So for a while, we're really having this awakening and understanding of what the true nature of something is and whether or not we can really live with it. But it culminates in an energy of clear-mindedness and altering the course of what we were doing. What is the true nature, and how are we going to move forward with this energy, knowing what we know now, taking care of ourselves, and having a clear sight of what we need to do. Okay, so Venus early Libra is moving the energy out of alone and singularity into cooperation, diplomacy, balance, getting along with others and bringing in the discourse. Also, it is multiples, so it could be 3 or more people, and that may mean that there are a couple plus situation going on right now. And then the sun, Venus is moving with the sun and Mercury. They tend to go around fairly close to each other from Earth's perspective. And so Venus and the sun really shine a light on women and shine a light on a feminine receptive energy within relationships. Having the moon in Sagittarius squaring the Virgo energy is probably going to be a little bit more difficult, though. And so it's kind of the difference between wanting to take off and not really be around the house anymore, having a home that is in the world, so to speak, And so it's kind of difficult, I would say, for the Cancerians right now, because the moon is not wanting to settle down, not wanting to be at home. And Mercury is also, I mean, it is cooperative to Cancer energy, but it is a little bit colder energy. And let's face it, sometimes Cancers can be fairly chilly emotionally when they have to be, because they encapsulate themselves in that shell. Okay, let's go through a couple other aspects here. We have a square between Mars and Mercury. As Mercury gets closer, it's only within 5 degrees of a square, so it's been going on for probably a week now. And that means still Mercury square Mars is giving a difficulty between wanting to be analytically correct and, mind the store, and wanting to move on and be very free to do what we want intellectually. So there's, Mercury rules Virgo and Gemini. So when planets square, Mars is answering to Mercury. So it's a really uncomfortable energy. It's like he has to get permission for everything he does. He is about to go retrograde, honestly, within a month. And now he's answering to a retrograde Mercury. So it's a bit of a difficult time for Geminis, for people with Gemini planets, and specifically for men, because it's ruling, the rulership of men is Mars, and they're not getting their voice heard as much. And there's a restriction energy on some level. There is a having to get permission from Mercury to do what you want to do, and you're not able to just be free flowing with your energy. So that can create like a stutter energy. Stuttering is a Gemini kind of influence. Stammers and stutters. It is also Mercury. So I mean, I probably stammer once in a while. I'm probably doing it right now. But yeah, Gemini, definitely the information comes in so quickly. Sometimes with Gemini, you can't get it out fast enough, or you're trying to get, your mind already knows the concept, and you're trying to get the right words to express it accurately. So that can have us kind of stopped up in our verbiage and verbal energy. Okay, Uranus in Taurus, kind of still at that same energy. It's at 18 degrees, same degree that it joined up with North Node. So it is still a very potent energy. It rules the crypto energy and currency that's electronic, which can also be credit cards and running them through a machine. And it's growth cycles, personal power. Where is our power in the financial industry? And, honestly, do you have any power, personal power with your relationship? Because Taurus rules love and coupling. So it's a more awakened energy to try and influence a relationship. And, very clear-minded, not going to tease ourselves about the true nature of what's going on. We understand it very clearly. Pluto, we've discussed that to death, so I'm not going to talk about it right now. Saturn answers to, Saturn is the energy of Capricorn, and it is in square within a degree to Uranus. So more technology, more growth, food, changing diet, cryptocurrency, stock markets, all the usual suspects, altering how we go about regulating these things, what we do in the public eye. This can also, Uranus and Taurus can also be technology that we buy, computers, phones, even any kind of recording devices or digital gaming, etc., anything like that. It's all, internet and broad-based technology. So that's all covered under that. Jupiter retrograde at 3 degrees this week, going back into Pisces soon, but in Aries early degrees, getting even more frustrated. The closer it gets to 0, it's that new energy that wants to break loose and bring forth like a different arena, where we're moving, where are we heading. And so as he gets closer to the Pisces energy, he is more clamped down with emotionalism, and that can translate to anger. It can translate to inertia and a feeling like we can't move forward. We're not going to get where we want to go. Chiron, 14 degrees Aries, also retrograde, also moving backwards mid-range. So this is the energy of Leo in the zodiac. So it's Aries Leo segment of Aries. And when Jupiter is at early degrees, it's Aries, Aries. So that kind of gives you an idea just how fiery and just over it he is. But Chiron at 14 means this is a wounding around men. It's a wounding around our ability to move forward and assert ourselves and become assertive and aggressive or action based. And that means proactive as well. So retrograde, it's like we have to go back over our actions. So it's a really difficult time, quite honestly, for Aries right now. Sales may be low. I know Jupiter rules housing, Jupiter retrograde. Aries is sales, housing slows down. Jupiter gets into Pisces. It's about flooding. It's about housing in floodplains, quite honestly, and maybe pipes bursting when it gets back to Pisces. And then when Jupiter goes direct later on, let's just look that up because I'm not sure off the top of my head when that happens. Yeah, Jupiter goes direct in late November, around the 22nd, 23rd, and doesn't get back to Aries until late December. So I would say that the housing market is going to get a little wishy-washy, and that's the Pisces influence. And definitely older houses, when Jupiter is in Pisces, people will be more interested in finding an older house and renovating it, which is vintage quality that Pisces brings to the housing market. And then when Jupiter goes direct, probably a better time to look at housing under Pisces for really something that will last a long time, quite honestly. And that timeline would be, let's see, Pisces direct is the last from, like I said, the 23rd of November through roughly the 20th of December when it goes into Aries. That's going to be the time, if you're into vintage housing, that is the time to get it, nostalgic. And then come December, moving into next year, we're going to blast through all those Aries degrees. It's going to be a really super hot market. Jupiter gets to Taurus, and then it's going to be about mortgages and the finance side of it, and very well could increase the prices again through next year. So right now we've got all the high interest rates coming in to tamp down the housing market to help inflation. Next year it's going to go direct in Aries again, which means sell, sell, sell. Buy, buy, buy is under Taurus. So sell, 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 then buy, buy, buy. And then Gemini is duplicitous and duality, and maybe bringing in about 2 years, more information that we associate with not being open and above board, maybe some more housing energy. Pluto going into Capricorn, when it went in and it's still there over the course of next summer. And then Mars will be kind of heading out in early next year. There could be something coming up about mortgages and housing early next year with that in conjunct between Mars and Gemini and Pluto in Capricorn. So I would avoid that window of time. If you want to know when it is, we'll look it up probably later this year. But if you're more interested in knowing soon, I can talk about it in future podcasts. Okay, let's go over the week. And then I have to get this bad boy edited and up because I have a ton of packing to do so I can tour with Father Ray Kelly. Excited for that. Hey, this is Shelley. I wanted to give you a heads up that there are a lot of new art prints at shelleyoverton.com. So go over there and check them out. SHELLEYOVERTON.com. Thanks.
Shimmy, shimmy, out, shimmy, aim, shimmy, aim. Give me the mic so I can take it away. Up on a natural charge, boom, barrage. Yeah, from the home of the Dodger, Brooklyn squad. 10 killer bees on the swarm. Rain on your dollar ass disco dome. You didn't even touch my skill. Gotta have one killer bee and he ain't gonna kill him. Shut that down, pass it all around. Lyrics get hot, quick cement to the ground. Any MC and any 52 states, I get psycho killer. Norman Bates, I produce a slam. I was like, bam, jump on stage.
Okay, Friday the 30th, we have active planets with Moon in Sagittarius, as I've said, as of 12:03 a.m., sextiling Venus early in the morning at 2:04. So we're all going to be asleep unless you're on the other side of the earth, in which case it's going to be a really lovely energy, very playful, very cooperative with partners. trine to Jupiter, 5:38 a.m. Eastern time, 2:38 a.m. Pacific. So Sag and Aries are cooperative. Jupiter rules Sagittarius. So this is going to be a really fun, playful, youthful energy coming in early in the morning. You'll probably be up early and want to get up and get going. It's a good early rising energy on Friday, the 30th. And then Moon sextile Sun in Libra. Again, kind of like Venus in Libra. It's going to be cooperative and yet playful, understanding, active, moving forward, connecting to people of other cultures and other needs. I've got down active, travel-minded, get out and play and get in nature. Saturday the 1st, it's still active. We still have travel, partner energy. Early evening, there's a chance for miscommunication as we look at a square between the Sun and Sagittarius and Mercury and Virgo at 5:46 p.m. And then we have a void of course Moon until the early morning hours on Sunday the 2nd, which is 3:38 a.m. Moon enters Capricorn. So Sunday, pretty big day for words and discussion, communication, action, and partners. And so we have the moon move into Capricorn. So it really does trigger that Pluto and Capricorn energy. So Sunday, if you are out looking at houses, Sunday is going to be much more practical, and it can be bursting your bubble with housing because Mercury is going to hit that energy. Well, actually, Mercury goes direct just after Moon moves into Capricorn, and Moon in Capricorn triggers that Pluto moving into Capricorn from 2008. So there is definitely a connection going on here with the housing energy, Moon in Capricorn. And then Mercury goes direct 5:07 a.m. in Virgo. Yes, Virgo. And so Mercury direct, now we can loosen up some energies, wrapping up the Virgo energy for good, and well, for good this time, and then moving on into Libra fairly soon after that. It's a late degree. It's around 27 degrees Mercury. So it's going to exit fairly quickly. Let me see throughout the week. Okay, Mercury enters Libra on the 10th of October. Late in the day, the Moon in Capricorn squares Jupiter in Aries at 8:37 a.m., squares Venus in Libra at 10:35 a.m. Eastern, and then squares the Sun in Libra at 8:14 p.m. So the morning is going to be about desires and travel and action. We're going to have to balance things out. So of course it's a T-square with the Moon square to Jupiter and then square to Venus in opposite signs. So it's a T-square energy. And so they're all going to be in aspect to each other, Moon, Jupiter, Venus. It's going to be about what action are we taking? What tangible, practical action are we taking for cooperation related to a partner and marriage? And then balance also women, cooperation, diplomacy, et cetera, social work. And then in the evening, we have that square to the Sun. So it's going to be a little hit to the ego in the evening. October 3rd, which is a Monday, continuing the square with Chiron in Aries of the Moon. So it's concern definitely early on Monday. You're going to have Moon Capricorn square to Chiron in Aries, Moon Capricorn trine to Uranus in Taurus, Moon inconjunct to Mars in Gemini. This is a newbie energy, so it's Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and it's the Moon in kind of negative aspect or emotional distress aspect to all three. And that can mean that we're going to be dealing with the actions taken, and it could relate to somebody being distraught over their money, somebody taking action with a vehicle. Mars in Gemini is vehicular assault, and Chiron in Aries, a wounding in the male ego. So I would say, you know, if I were to foretell the combination of these planets in the T-square, it would be somebody, a man or a male figure, getting irritated over a continuous distressing turn of events that really is like a lifelong wounding, gets another hit from what's going on with, say, crypto or his life in technology, gets in the car and then takes it out on what he perceives to be authority. So that's kind of the storyline of those three aspects. But on a lighter note, Moon in Capricorn sextile to Neptune at 7:31 p.m. So in the evening, we're going to see a much more cooperative manifestation energy coming together and really nailing down a dream and something that can potentially last a long time. Moon in Capricorn, trine to Mercury in Virgo in the evening at 8:59 p.m. Eastern. And so that's going to be much more meticulous and analytical, but very truthful and grounded energy. And then it rounds off the day with a moon conjunct to Pluto in Capricorn at 11:49 p.m. Eastern, 8:49 p.m. Pacific, and that's a void of course moon. I've got harsh communications. It's literal discourse, very verbal, righteous Gemini Mars energy. The sextile is good for solid structure creation and manifestation. Tuesday, Yom Kippur begins at sundown, so you know we're coming into fall. And honestly, marriage is good under Libra aspects. So if you're thinking of getting married, Libra. Moon enters Aquarius, good for freedom and a detachment from the motherly nurturing energy, and really starts to focus us back on a detachment from the motherly duties and much more on cooperative, collective, and no one figure sticking out, but we're all part of the same whole equally, whereas each individual has their own specialty that they can do, not necessarily exalted, but recognized. Okay, moon on Tuesday goes 10:48 a.m. sextile to Jupiter in Aries. So that is a very fast moving energy because Aries likes to go, Jupiter likes to go, and Aquarius likes to go. So no, Tuesday's going to be pretty fast. And then Venus is in Libra air sign also, are trine to the moon and a trine to the sun in Libra. So yeah, it's fast action going on with regard to independence and relationships. Cooperative, good for money, love, and partners. Wednesday, moon in Aquarius all day, trines the sun in Libra overnight. So it's 2:31 a.m. Eastern with 11:31 p.m. the night before Pacific. We have a sextile to Chiron in Aries. So that's going to be a more cooperative aspect, and we can break free from some of those energies that might bog us down. Normally with Chiron, we're acting a little bit more in our own power. And then a square to Uranus Taurus, again, all the same usual triggers: money, food, love, independence, cooperation, entrepreneurship. A conjunction of moon to Saturn at 2:00 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. So moon, Saturn in Aquarius, and it's also squaring to Uranus. So there's going to be an ending energy around something, well, ending or an answer. So the moon can trigger a response, a culmination of finishing off of a storyline, or basically a response and answer. Trine of the moon to Mars in Gemini, again, more fast moving, action based energy. And this is much more in our self-centeredness, and not self-centered in a good way, but self-centered in a selfish way. And then an inconjunct to Mercury at the end of the day with Virgo and Aquarius at 10:06 p.m. Pacific, and then overnight to 1:06 a.m. Eastern. Sleep on it. That's what I say. It's overnight. And then the moon enters Pisces on Thursday, again, bringing us down into our water energy. Virgo, Mercury, trine Pluto in Capricorn. So that means Mercury is in end degrees of Pluto. So this is an ending of a story. Mercury a lot of times talks about the ending of an idea, the ending of a certain technological influence, the ending of words, or it could also be the ending of a person who is in a teacher capacity, an orator, a media person, someone who teaches us or shows interest and understanding and awareness in tangible things. So that's a writer potentially, because Virgo expresses words in written form the best. And then finally on Friday, we're going to have a moon in Pisces with aspects to Venus in Libra, Sun in Libra, Uranus in Taurus, Mars in Gemini, and Neptune in Pisces. And we will talk about that on the 7th. So with all that said, thank you very much for showing up for our September podcasts. Please do like, share, comment, subscribe below, and let me know what you think. I like the comments. I like to know what's going on. Send me a message. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Snapchat, but I think I'm under Artful Shelley. I don't think I do. Yeah, I don't do Snapchat for astrology. I do it for my art though. And check out my pages on my website for my art, and you'll see that ad earlier in this podcast. But thank you so much for showing up, and adios September. Hello, we're looking forward to October. Take care. See you next time. Bye. Angels like to come in. Angels are bugging my nose. Stop it. Oh, it goes direct. I'm getting it backwards again. Okay.
To purchase my ebook, Learn Astrology, you can find it at angeliczodiac.com. Hi, this is Shelley. Thank you for joining us this week. To contact me for a private reading, go to angeliczodiac.com under the Readings tab. Background music was provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. Be sure to check back next week and subscribe through iTunes at Astro Energy Astrology Show.